Hi, welcome to Functionally Fit Podcast. I'm Jenn Rice, and I am so glad to have you all meet today Robin Hanover. Robin is a wealth manager and a financial consultant and coach, and she specializes in the mindset of money. But I want to add in, more importantly, how this can actually affect your health.
Yep.
And I love this topic, Robin. Thank you so much for being here. I know we've been trying to set this up for a bit, so This is fantastic that we are able to do this now.
I'm so excited. Thank you so much, Jenn. I really appreciate it. And, just to kind of share with the listeners as far as my own personal health journey, and I know I've shared that with you, and how it all kind of tied into money and wellness and all of that. And people really don't realize it yet. Money can be one of the number one stresses that we have in our life. And it can be such a subconscious thing that we don't even realize it. So I've been in the financial industry since 1987. So it's been a journey. I got out after the market crash of 87, and I actually started a wellness coaching practice in California. So, and it was interesting because when I was working with my clients, money always kind of came up. It was always a stress. It was always about the market or never enough, or, this feeling of not having enough. The scarcity mindset that really prevents people from moving forward.
Was it even just to interrupt you real quick? Was it even with people that, in like most people's opinion, would seem to have plenty of that?
Yes.
Okay. So that's what's really interesting, right?
Yeah. So the interesting thing is, being in Napa Valley, I had pretty well-to-do clients, and it was interesting. You bring up a great point. The ones who actually have the most were the ones that have the highest scarcity mindset. And it was always a feeling like they knew that they had it, but it was like this feeling of like, oh, I don't want to let it go. Something's going to happen to it. The stress of losing it, or even the stress of not knowing what to do with it. Someone can inherit money, which has happened quite a bit, and they get so overwhelmed that they want to get rid of it right away because the stress of actually having to deal with it really affected their health, affected how they made decisions, all of that. So long story short, I went back in, got licensed, got certifications, and went back in to really try and dive a little bit deeper into combining a holistic financial planning strategy practice in with the mindset and how people actually make decisions based on, are they coming from fear or are they coming from greed? And probably 9 times out of 10, it was mainly fear-based. And as a result, I actually referred people to someone like yourself because they were having, either autoimmune conditions or, allergies, things like that, you would seem pretty, oh, I'll just cut out cheese or I'll do all of these other things. But there was such a very deeper rooted problem that was causing this. So, and I can just share in my own life is, being in the financial industry back in the 80s was very stressful. And I myself, I had my own, I used to weigh over 210 pounds. And, for me, it was really about stress eating. And it was just like, oh, I want this feeling to go away. It was that, I call it buffering, where you're buffering, you're either eating, drinking, shopping, whatever that is.
Emotional compensation.
Yes.
So for the listeners, Robin, you're how tall?
I am 5'3" on a good day.
Okay. And so you weighed 210. And you were, an more ideal weight would have been, say, 60 pounds less than that?
Yeah, like 120, 130,
So about 60 pounds overweight or so.
Okay. Yeah. So, and, it's almost kind of like, and of course, back in the 80s, we had leggings and we could like hide it really well,
Big shirts, flannels. Yep. Uh-huh. And then there was like the box food you could try to eat
Oh
that was going to
my
make you skinny for like
gosh.
2 weeks. And then you'd be like, wait, I got to eat some other food. So I
Yeah.
know, I
It's
know.
so funny. And I'm originally from Ohio, so I grew up in the Midwest. So it's like, and my mom didn't cook. So everything, like growing up in the 70s, we had manwich, we had tuna nuna casserole, we had like all of this stuff was in a box. I didn't even know what a tomato was supposed to taste like until I actually had a tomato from in California and something that's supposed to be a fruit and vegetable. I was like, wow.
I totally
So
relate to that because I not only it wasn't that my parents were uh only making processed food. I think I was also a child that just loved processed food. And I
yeah,
just got used to it. And that is what I craved and what I ate, instant mashed potatoes. Um, yeah. So learning to eat is another thing as we get older, because the thing that and anybody listening that can relate to this, it's like maybe it doesn't matter so much when we're 15, maybe not even 25. Possibly you can slide through maybe in your 30s, and then you get into your 40s, and
yeah,
then especially your late 40s or mid
yeah,
40s, and literally
yeah.
whatever bad habits you might have are like going to be maximized and amplified and right there in your face to deal with,
So
right?
true. So
Yeah. And then you're like,
true.
whoa, okay, obviously, in fact, I tease some of the younger people I work with that I'm like, get it now, because when you when you hit 45, you're gonna be like, follow me up. Wait,
Yeah,
how do I eat better? What do I need to do?
exactly.
So
Exactly.
so what were your first symptoms? I mean, I know the weight gain, but were you also then having fatigue and sleep
Oh,
problems?
yeah. So chronic fatigue was my number one. It was number one. And then, long story short, being a wellness coach, I kind of like went into that. It was like, I had that all or nothing personality where like, okay, I'm going to go to this extreme, here I was over here. All right, so let's do the food plan. Let's cut this out. Let's do the exercise. Let's do all of that, but it only got me so far. So it's like I looked on the outside really healthy, but I still have this mental chatter, this stress, and I didn't realize it. And so it got me to a good point, but then it didn't take me to that next level.
Mhm.
So I worked with a functional practitioner, like yourself, and we got to a really good base, but then I had to go into a deeper space of like, okay, what is it that's really causing my issues? And it was really my thoughts. It was like my thoughts and the stress. And as I dived into more of my work and the training that I went through, the body doesn't know the difference between an actual trauma that has happened to us on the outside versus a thought about that trauma. And your body responds the exact same way. And I'm like, holy crap, so if I'm like thinking, oh my God, I'm going to get into a car accident, or oh my God, I'm going to lose my money in my account or whatever, the body
Mhm.
doesn't know the difference. So here are my own thoughts. And I see this with my clients. They're causing this subconscious, that adrenal stress. We talk about adrenal fatigue. And
Mhm.
that's really what was really hard for me and my body, was like I wasn't able to shut that down. I wasn't able to turn that off. So,
Had
yeah.
you experienced like a bottom as far as like that
Yes.
was making you fearful, like as a child or as an adult? Did you like almost go bankrupt, or did you have this kind of thing happen, or were you just, or your parents were concerned about money, or where do you think it?
Yeah. So, being from the Midwest, I mean, I was brought up, everyone in my family was entrepreneurs. So they always had their own businesses. So my dad was in the printing business, my grandfather was a plumber. So I was taught that your security is being your own business and all of that. So I'm a terrible employee. I've tried many times, it just doesn't work. But I think it was the up and down of watching my parents go through that feast or famine, and I think a lot of people can relate. If you're a 1099 or a contractor, you have those months where you're like, woohoo, I did really well. And then, the next month it bottoms out, or you get the tax bill and you're like, holy crap. So I think it was having this up and down childhood from a financial standpoint. And I remember good Christmases and bad Christmases, I could tell based on the money. My parents never really fought about money, but there was always like this quiet energy. I'm just going to call it energy. You can feel that, that tension.
Yes.
So, and I think I was taught, which I thought was serving me well, that you have to work hard to succeed. But to me, hard was pushing myself and pushing myself and pushing myself into something that was not really resonating with me or my soul. And I think, your body really knows. It's a pretty intuitive machine, and it really knows when it's really not ready to take that next step, or you're doing something that's not really making you happy. And just even that can really affect your health in the long term. So that's what was going on for me. So
how did you clean out obviously it was lots of work, but
lots of work. Yeah.
Kind of checking your thoughts, journaling.
So I got very clear. So after I got with someone like you, I got all of that cleaned up. I got the diet. I stopped doing massive amounts of cardio. I started doing more yoga. I walked instead of run. So my body wasn't even stressed, because when you think about it, exercise adds more stress to you if you're not doing it properly. Yes. So I learned that. So I got that stuff taken care of. Then I realized that I was dealing with some PTSD. I had an earthquake when I was in California. So that was some underlying stress that I had to deal with. So I saw a therapist who was doing EMDR. Love EMDR, swear by it, good stuff. So between that, some therapy looking back, but also I think one of the most important things was working with a coach, a life coach, that we kind of laid out a life plan and like a soul plan as far as, okay, what is it that's resonating? What is my why? What is it that I want to give back to the world? And how do I want to show up, and how can I help other people? So I think I was really working with a coach as well as with all of these other modalities. The number one thing that I really do now, and I'm 55 and going through menopause, and it's just like, that's a whole nother, it's crazy. Your body's like, what? Meditation has been my lifesaver. I mean, and I used to be like, yeah. But I really got into the groove with it. And, I'm an app girl. I like downloading apps, and it really does make a difference. And I just started with like 3 minutes, then I worked up to 7 minutes, then I did 10 minutes. And it really does just take your body just down a notch.
Yeah, so, I agree. I've been pretty consistent with it since before COVID started. And we do it every night before bed. And that's kind of a habit.
Huge. It's a habit. And then being in nature, walking in nature. I mean, again, being from California, I miss big trees, but we have this a beautiful, amazing trees here, and it's different. Now it's bloody hot here in Florida, but like everywhere else. But, I've learned to walk in the evening and not like just push myself, but like really enjoy it. And kind of like that walking meditation where, I don't need to be listening to music, or I don't need to be listening to a podcast. Let's just be aware and be fully present of like the birds and the doves and what's going on. And it's really pretty amazing, just even for 20, 30 minutes. So
very healing.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about some struggles that you see people that you've worked with, and kind of how them flipping a script has changed things for them. If you have an example or of someone that, and where you find a lot of the blocks, and then
so a lot of the blocks, in opposed to from a money scarcity thing, is that I really take my clients through kind of a very step-by-step approach. And we really kind of go into a deeper work of like, where are these thoughts? And we kind of touched on it briefly with my past, and really looking deeper, like, okay, what did your parents teach you about money or not teach you about money? Where are your beliefs coming from? Do you believe rich people are evil? Do you believe rich people are bad? I mean, so do you believe it's good to be poor? So it's like all of these things and these beliefs that we really kind of go through our life. And what I've learned and what I teach my clients is that a belief is really just a combination of thoughts that you've had over and over again, and then it's just turned into a belief. So I challenge them to really ask the question, is this really true? And is this really serving you? And if not, what is resonating with you? And so we go through a very specific process of finding out what is it? Where do you see your future self? And then kind of backing into it. And then kind of cleaning up, I call the gunk in some of those past beliefs about money, about scarcity, and then saying, and really putting it into present time and addressing some of those things of the reality of it. And is it really true? Because the worry is really what's causing the stress, which is causing the illness. And once we get rid of those subconscious beliefs, it's amazing what people can do, not only from a health standpoint, but then money starts to flow. And then we start working about how to create abundance in their life. And really, there's certain things that are still holding them back from creating that. And it's a very subtle thing. Like to mine, as I didn't realize that working hard, that was a big one for me. Mm-hmm. That in order to feel validated with my money, it had to be hard to get it. Why does it have to be hard to get it? Well, that's
who says. Yeah, who says, right? Yeah. Okay.
So that was a big one for me, is that it shouldn't be hard, and it doesn't need to be hard. So we look at that. The other one for me is being visible, like being out there, being visible, speaking your truth. Being here is like, I'm a true introvert. I mean, I love like talking about it, but it's like when I go to a party or I go in crowds, I'm like, I kind of shut down, or I need a lot of recoup time to kind of build my reserves back up. So being visible was always something for me. And I had to go back to my childhood, as far as there was a very specific event that happened to me when I was 4 that I was turned around. My hands were so tiny because I was really tiny. I was petite, and I couldn't, those big fat pieces of chalk. So I had to write the number 9, and I couldn't do it. And I was in a Montessori Catholic school. And the teacher turned me around. She took a ruler and she slapped my knuckles and basically said I was being lazy. The class laughed at me. And then here we are 55 years later. That was a block that I didn't even know that I had. And when you think about it, I would say 9 times out of 10, there was always something in our childhood where we got laughed at, or we got made fun of, or something that is stuck down deep that we need to release, and we don't even know it's there. And
how do you release something like that? Just by bringing it out and making it known?
We can look at it. Yeah, there's a couple of different ways. So we do EFT tapping.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So that's one. There's a lot of different tools. I actually use what's called the model, and I have a worksheet as one of my handouts, kind of looking through that. And it's cognitive behavior, as far as taking a look at using the model. It's very specific. It's very analytical, which is my analytical side, and looking at the event and going back to it and then switching it around. And it's amazing when you actually do that and write it out from a journaling standpoint and do the model, it changes the whole thing. So there's a lot of different tools. One doesn't resonate with others. Like tapping for me didn't work, but the model did. So, and the journaling and all of that. So everyone's different.
And for people listening who may not know, so emotional freedom tapping is a technique where you're tapping, what they call them, like
meridians.
Acupressure.
Yeah.
And there's some great, even if you're listening and you want to look on YouTube, there's some teachers of emotional freedom tapping, and that people use this for anxiety, depression, itching. We've used it for all kinds of things, and it can be incredibly helpful for some people.
Yes.
some people swear by it, but like Robin's saying, we're all so uniquely different. That's why one set of like, there's no cookie cutter approach to everyone.
Right. That's right.
And I think when it comes to money and money mindset, there could be degrees of this that you're probably well aware of, and then ones that you might think, oh, I didn't know that that was even. And people live their whole lives, entire lives, and probably pass away without addressing these things. And maybe they are potentially deeply connected to some of the health issues.
Yes. Well, I mean, if you think about it, it's interesting. I just had a meeting, with a client, and, keeping their money in a bank account, they think it's safe. But the reality is, with inflation, with all of that, they're actually losing money. And so when you approach it in a way, and everyone's different and their comfort level's different, but it's almost like, okay, let's look at why do you think that's safe, or keeping it underneath your mattress or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's then taking a look at those blocks, and then creating a strategy from a financial strategy standpoint of actually what works for that individual, because there isn't one way, just like everyone has different fears and different scarcity and or mindset about money. So then you take that and you actually formulate a strategy, just like you do with people's health. Everyone's gut's different, so you might need to do tweaking. You might need to do some different things. Money's the same way, and the strategies are the same way. There is not one black or white, formula for everyone. And that's the beauty of it. And that's why I love doing the clients. It's like looking at the mindset and then applying the actual traditional analytical strategy to it. So
that's great. Yeah, because that's it's not like you're not just coaching them through like a life coach would. You also have this vast background of being a wealth manager, and you continue to manage people and accounts in a high-end wealth management practice, right? So they're kind of getting the best of both worlds there. You're not you're not alone, just helping them switch their mindset because that's some course you took, on the weekend.
Exactly.
It's a circle from all the things that you've learned over many years. So that's really fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
So Robin, if somebody wanted to, connect with you more, learn more about what you do, I know you said you have a free quit, or it's something that could take,
it's a download. Yeah. So if you're left brain analytical and you like, I hate budgets. I hate that word. So I like cash flow, because cash flow it's flow. Money's just flow. So I have this beautiful cash flow Excel spreadsheet that people can use. It's super easy. I think that's always the first step, is like, okay, where is my money going? What's coming in? Where is my spending? Really looking at it. And then, so I have that on my website. So it's super easy. It's just robinhanover.com. And then I do have, I think we can put it in the show notes, I do have some of that money scarcity or money belief worksheets that we can also put in the show notes. And then they can also reach out to me via email on the website as well if they want some money mindset. And then also too, there's a debt worksheet as well. So if you're struggling with debt, you don't know why, you get out of debt and you go back in, that's definitely something to take a look at. And that's easy. That's an easy fix, but it does take some work for sure.
That's fantastic. So needed. So especially, what advice do you have as we kind of close up? If somebody is, maybe they've made it all the way to this point of the podcast and they're like, well, this is great, but I really don't have any money, or they fell on hard times through COVID, or they've gone through a divorce, or they just feel like, well, I mean, this is all fine and good, but I just don't, I don't even know where to start. Like, I owe too many people. I owe, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, what would your advice be to someone thinking that?
Well, I think that's a really place as far as taking a look at, okay, well, here I am. I kind of feel stuck. How am I going to get out of there? And I think right there is the quick thing to do is change the mindset as far as, okay, yes, it's been a crap year. Yes, you're in debt. If you are, how can you get out of it? I think then change the question. Change the question is like, what can I do? Instead of being stuck in the fact of, okay, I'm here, there's nothing else, there's no place else I can go, I'm old, I can't get another job. Figure out there's always a way. There's always a way. And by shifting the question and by shifting the mindset, your brain starts creating these creative ideas, and it's amazing what starts to happen.
Like, how can I make additional money? How
Yes.
can I make a plan to pay this down?
Yes. What
or
can I do?
Yeah.
Right. These are things that I can't do, but what are things that I can do? I can be a dog sitter. I can, I can take a roommate in, or whatever that looks like. There's always a solution, but it starts with changing the actual dynamic that's going on in your head. That's where it starts, because otherwise you stay stuck, and then you can't, it's in this hamster wheel cycle.
Yeah. And I think that that's how you stay stuck in your health too.
Yes.
There are often times where if somebody is just feels like they're doing all the right things, and I think we were talking about before we hit record on this, that you cannot eat your way out of, you can eat all the plant-based, gluten-free, dairy-free food you can possibly stand, and you can exercise and you can work on your sleep and all of that. But if you're not addressing the mental aspects and the formation of new habits that serve you better, you can end up in a place that's why there's no progress. That's why the weight isn't coming off and the fatigue isn't that much better. And what are these things holding you back? And I think this can be tricky where and I just want to mention this one thing, because I think, like you say, when something pops in your mind, maybe someone needs to hear it. But a lot of times, and many women I know can feel like they're in a breadwinner position, or it's hard for them to give up, let's say, hours, or maybe shift work, or clients, or to try to heal because they need more time to themselves. I'm actually thinking of one person in particular who has an autoimmune condition, and it has been struggling on and off, and it's but financially cannot see the way through. And that's where, though, you're saying there's always a way.
There's always a way. There's always a way. And that's the thing too, when you're stuck in it yourself, you can't see. And when you have someone else from the outside looking in, there's always something that you might not be able to see, because and you can't. There's no way that you can. And that's why having a coach, or someone like you, or someone like me, that can be like, hey, have you thought about this? And this is what I see, that you could be able to do this, this, and this. Now, if you get those ideas and you're like, no, that won't work, that won't work, then you have to take a deeper look at, well, why are you staying stuck? And why are you doing the self-sabotage? And is it serving you to stay where you are? That's really what And that's a really deep question of what am I getting from staying stuck?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good. Well, if anyone would like to connect with Robin, we'll put this in the show notes. And Robin, thank you so much for being here. I hope you'll come back. And we can maybe make, I think that this money mindset could be an ongoing segment for sure that we need to revisit. And maybe you could share a few of your other strategies with us next time. And
I would love to.
So much.
I would love to. Thanks so much.